of it's because of the science. If there were no scientific basis, Moyers would not have filmed it. But you also have scientific evidence that meditation can actually help people to, in some sense, heal and grow and learn and be more healthy. So that has actually helped generate interest among young students in neuroscience and clinical psychology, and I want to do this. I want to work in this kind of arena. And so that was one of a number of major accelerants, I call them, like throwing gasoline on a small fire and you get a much bigger fire. Well, the Moyers program was one. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy in 2000, when the first paper came out about it, was another one. The neuroscience papers that started coming out, Richard Davidson's work at the University of Wisconsin, all these things started to mushroom. And if you plot the number of scientific papers per year, not just in the brain, all sorts of things change in the brain. We drive what's called functional connectivity, neuroplasticity of all kinds, regulating emotions, regulating attention, regulating executive functions so that you actually know what's going on, regulating your sense of self and how much your sense of self imprisons us. So all of that happens, but it's not just the brain that changes with this kind of training. The genome changes. So this loops back to my original training in molecular biology. It's like we can actually change how our genes are expressed. It's called epigenetics, and upregulating and downregulating when you meditate thousands of genes, some of which have to do with inflammation and proto-oncogenes and things that have to do with health and disease. They actually benefit from cultivating mindfulness. And then there's also telomeres, these repeat subunit DNA bases at the ends of all of our chromosomes, and which are absolutely essential for cell division. And stress shortens the telomeres. So if you undergo lots of stress in your life, or it reduces the lifetime of the cell, after a while it can't, the genome can't reproduce anymore. The chromosome can't replicate itself anymore, so that cell dies. That's called cell senescence or cell death. But if you practice mindfulness, there's all sorts of evidence that the genome actually rebuilds those telomeres at the tips of your chromosomes. Elizabeth Blackburn won the Nobel Prize for her work on telomeres, and Alyssa Epel in her laboratory, and she wrote a book together on the telomere effect and how meditation can actually make those telomeres longer and reduce the speed at which they're degraded. So those scientific technologies were not remotely existent in 1979 when I started MBSR. But now they're showing us that you can change your biology by practicing what looks from the outside a lot like nothing. But it's not nothing. It's what I call non-doing. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything, but it's like you're cultivating being. And as in human being. So when we exercise that muscle, we're healthier, we're happier, we're more adjusted, and we're also smarter in a certain way because we're recruiting a whole spectrum of intelligences. And we need to be as smart as a species as we can be in this day and age because we've got global warming, because we've got nuclear weapons, because we have all this animosity between countries and all this competition that potentially could lead to, major disasters in a lot of different ways. The one area that we have not explored, we're so technologically precocious, is the human mind, who we are as human beings. So in a sense, mindfulness is not just a nice, interesting medical intervention or psychological intervention or some nice thing that we can do aside from yoga and running or swimming or taking care of ourselves. It may be the absolute core, essential opportunity for us as a species to grow into everything we already are.